Most 100 horror stories in the world. Number 1. The Telltale Heart, by Edgar Allan Poe, a classic short story that delves into the mind of a murderer haunted by the sound of a beating heart. Number 2. Dracula, by Bram Stoker. This novel introduced the iconic vampire Count Dracula, captivating readers with its gothic atmosphere and chilling narrative. Number 3. Frankenstein, by Mary Shelley, a thought-provoking tale about the consequences of playing God and the horrors that can emerge from scientific ambition. Number 4. The Exorcist, by William Peter Blatty. This novel tells the story of a possessed young girl and the harrowing attempts to free her from demonic possession. Number 5. The Shining, by Stephen King, a psychological horror novel set in an isolated hotel, exploring the descent into madness of a writer and his family. Number 6. The Haunting of Hill House, by Shirley Jackson, a suspenseful and atmospheric story about a haunted house and the psychological effects it has on its inhabitants. Number 7. It, by Stephen King, a terrifying tale about a shape-shifting entity that preys on children, haunting the town of Derry, Maine. Number 8. The Call of Cthulhu, by H.P. Lovecraft, a cosmic horror story that introduces the ancient, otherworldly entity known as Cthulhu, whose awakening threatens humanity. Number 9. Psycho, by Robert Bloch, the novel that inspired Alfred Hitchcock's iconic film, delving into the disturbed mind of serial killer Norman Bates. Number 10. The Woman in Black, by Susan Hill, a ghostly tale set in an isolated house, haunting the visitors who encounter the vengeful spirit. Number 11. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, by Washington Irving, a classic American ghost story featuring the infamous Headless Horseman, terrorizing the town of Sleepy Hollow. Number 12. Pet Sematary, by Stephen King, a novel that explores the dark consequences of bringing the dead back to life, as a family discovers an ancient burial ground with eerie powers. Number 13. The Turn of the Screw, by Henry James, a psychological ghost story that follows a governess as she tries to protect two children from malevolent spirits in a remote English country house. Number 14. Rosemary's Baby, by Ira Levin, a suspenseful tale about a young woman who becomes increasingly suspicious that her husband and neighbors are part of a sinister plot involving her unborn child. Number 15. The Lottery, by Shirley Jackson, a short story that portrays a seemingly ordinary small town engaging in a horrifying annual tradition with shocking consequences. Number 16. The Picture of Dorian Gray, by Oscar Wilde, a gothic novel that explores the dark side of human nature and the consequences of eternal youth and beauty. Number 17. The Monkey's Paw, by W. W. Jacobs, a chilling short story about a cursed monkey's paw that grants its owner 3 wishes, but with dire and unintended consequences. Number 18. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, by Robert Louis Stevenson, a tale of duality and the horrors that emerge when a respected doctor's dark alter ego is unleashed. Number 19. The Raven, by Edgar Allan Poe, a haunting poem that explores themes of grief, loss, and the descent into madness as a man is tormented by a talking raven. Number 20. The Amityville Horror, by Jay Anson, a supposedly true story of a haunted house in Amityville, New York, where a family is terrorized by malevolent forces. Number 21. The Turn of the Key, by Ruth Ware, a modern psychological thriller that follows a nanny who takes a job in a remote Scottish house, only to find herself entangled in a web of mystery and malevolence. Number 22. Bird Box, by Josh Malerman, a post-apocalyptic horror novel where survivors must navigate a world filled with unseen creatures that drive people to madness if they catch a glimpse of them. Number 23. Interview with the Vampire, by Anne Rice, the first book in the Vampire Chronicles series. It tells the story of a vampire recounting his life and experiences, delving into themes of immortality and morality. Number 24. The Girl with All the Gifts, by Emma Carey, a unique take on the zombie genre, where a young girl possesses both the characteristics of a zombie and the ability to think and reason. Number 25. House of Leaves, by Mark Z. Danielewski, a complex and experimental novel that explores a house that is larger on the inside than it is on the outside, blurring the lines between reality and madness. Number 26. The Woman in the Dunes, by Kobo Abe, a surreal and claustrophobic novel about a man who becomes trapped in a sand dune with a mysterious woman, facing existential dread and despair. Number 27. Coraline, by Neil Gaiman, a dark fantasy novella that follows a young girl who discovers a parallel world where everything seems perfect, but soon realizes the sinister intentions of the other mother. Number 28. The Silence of the Lambs, by Thomas Harris, a psychological thriller featuring the infamous cannibalistic serial killer Hannibal Lecter, as an FBI agent seeks his assistance in catching another serial killer. Number 29. The Road, by Cormac McCarthy, a post-apocalyptic novel that follows a father and son as they journey through a desolate and dangerous landscape, facing both physical and existential horrors. Number 30. The Call, by Peter Ogwelin, a dark fantasy novel set in a world where teenagers are hunted by fairies during a brutal survival test, with high stakes and gruesome consequences. Number 31. The Stand, by Stephen King, a post-apocalyptic novel where a deadly virus wipes out most of humanity, and the survivors must navigate a world plunged into chaos while facing a supernatural battle between good and evil. Number 32. American Psycho, by Bret Easton Ellis, a disturbing and graphic novel that delves into the mind of Patrick Bateman, a wealthy investment banker with a hidden sadistic and murderous nature. Number 33. The Yellow Wallpaper, by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, a haunting short story that explores the descent into madness as a woman becomes obsessed with the patterns of the wallpaper in her room. Number 34. The Strain, by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, the first book in a vampire trilogy, blending horror and thriller elements as a team of experts battles a terrifying strain of vampirism spreading across New York City. Number 35. World War Z, by Max Brooks, a gripping novel that presents the zombie apocalypse as a series of interviews with survivors, offering a global perspective on the devastating outbreak. Number 36. The Ruins, by Scott Smith, a psychological horror novel that follows a group of tourists who become trapped on an ancient pyramid in a remote Mexican jungle, facing an unknown and deadly force. Number 37. We Have Always Lived in the Castle, by Shirley Jackson, a suspenseful and atmospheric story about two sisters living in isolation, hiding a dark secret and facing the hostility of the outside world. Number 38. Let the Right One In, by John Ajvide Lindqvist, a Swedish vampire novel that explores the unlikely friendship between a young boy and a centuries-old vampire girl, amidst a backdrop of darkness and violence. Number 39. House of Leaves, by Mark Z. Danielewski, a complex and unsettling novel that blurs the lines between reality and fiction, centered around a house that defies conventional laws of space and time. Number 40. The Ritual, by Adam Neville, a chilling story of a hiking trip gone wrong, as a group of friends finds themselves stalked by a malevolent presence in a remote forest. Number 41. The Wasp Factory, by Ian Banks, a disturbing novel that follows the twisted mind of a young boy who engages in unsettling rituals and harbors dark secrets within his family. Number 42. The Road Virus Heads North, by Stephen King, a gripping short story about a writer who purchases a painting that seems to change and unleash a malevolent force upon his life. Number 43. Ghost Story, by Peter Straub, a haunting tale of a group of elderly friends who gather to share ghost stories, only to find themselves facing their own supernatural nightmares. Number 44. The Elementals, by Michael McDowell, a Southern Gothic novel that explores a family's haunted summer homes on the Alabama Gulf Coast, where ancient entities lurk and threaten their very existence. Number 45. The Troop, by Nick Cutter, a chilling story about a group of Boy Scouts who encounter a deadly and highly contagious organism while on a camping trip, leading to a fight for survival. Number 46. Heart-Shaped Box, by Joe Hill, a supernatural thriller about an aging rock star who purchases a haunted suit online, only to find himself tormented by the vengeful spirit of its previous owner. Number 47. The Ruins of Detroit, by David Chauvel and Sylvain Runberg, a graphic novel that explores the abandoned and eerie landscapes of a post-apocalyptic Detroit, filled with dark secrets and lurking horrors. Number 48. House of Leaves, by Mark Z. Danielewski, a mind-bending story that combines horror, mystery, and experimental storytelling, revolving around a house that defies reality and consumes those who enter. Number 49. The Shadow over Innsmouth, by H.P. Lovecraft, a classic tale of cosmic horror that follows a man's investigation into the secrets of the decrepit coastal town of Innsmouth, revealing a terrifying race of fish-like creatures. Number 50. The Terror, by Dan Simmons, a historical horror novel based on the ill-fated Franklin expedition, where a crew of explorers faces unimaginable horrors and a monstrous creature in the Arctic. Number 51. The Haunting of Hill House, by Shirley Jackson, a classic haunted house tale that follows a group of individuals who stay in Hill House, where supernatural occurrences and psychological terror abound. Number 52. The Exorcist, by William Peter Blatty, a gripping novel that tells the harrowing story of a young girl possessed by a malevolent demon and the desperate attempts to save her soul. Number 53. The Girl Next Door, by Jack Ketchum, a disturbing and unsettling novel inspired by true events, exploring the horrors of abuse and the dark side of human nature. Number 54. The Fisherman, by John Langan, a literary horror novel that weaves together a haunting tale of grief, loss, and cosmic horror as a widowed fisherman delves into a forbidden river. Number 55. The Shining, by Stephen King, a psychological horror novel that follows a family's descent into madness while living in an isolated and haunted hotel during the winter season. Number 56. Annihilation, by Jeff Vandermeer, the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, a surreal and atmospheric story that follows a team of scientists exploring a mysterious and dangerous area known as Area X. Number 57. The Call of Cthulhu, by H.P. Lovecraft, a seminal cosmic horror tale that introduces the ancient and malevolent entity known as Cthulhu, whose awakening threatens humanity's very existence. Number 58. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, by Stieg Larsson, a dark and gripping crime thriller that delves into a twisted web of murder, corruption, and family secrets, with haunting consequences. Number 59. House of Leaves, by Mark Z. Danielewski, a complex and labyrinthine story that explores a house that defies logic and sanity, with shifting hallways and dark secrets lurking within its depths. Number 60. The Babadook, by Jennifer Kent, a psychological horror story that follows a single mother and her son as they are tormented by a malevolent creature from a mysterious children's book. Number 61. Rosemary's Baby, by Ira Levin, a suspenseful psychological horror novel that follows a young woman who becomes pregnant and begins to suspect that her neighbors have sinister intentions for her unborn child. Number 62. Pet Sematary, by Stephen King, a terrifying novel about a burial ground that has the power to bring the dead back to life, with devastating consequences for those who dare to use it. Number 63. The Turn of the Screw, by Henry James, a classic ghost story that revolves around a governess who suspects that the children in her care are being haunted by malevolent spirits. Number 64. Birds of Prey, by Wilbur Smith, a chilling thriller set in the African wilderness, where a group of people find themselves trapped and hunted by a pack of vicious predators. Number 65. The Girl on the Train, by Paula Hawkins, a gripping psychological thriller that follows a troubled woman who becomes entangled in a missing person investigation, uncovering dark secrets along the way. Number 66. The Amityville Horror, by J. Anson, based on a true story. This book recounts the terrifying experiences of a family who moves into a haunted house that was the site of a gruesome murder. Number 67. The Picture of Dorian Gray, by Oscar Wilde, a Gothic novel that explores the consequences of a man's pact to remain forever young and beautiful, while a portrait of him ages and reflects his true, corrupted nature. Number 68. The Cabin at the End of the World, by Paul Tremblay, a suspenseful and thought-provoking novel that follows a family's vacation-turned-nightmare when they are confronted by a group of strangers with apocalyptic intentions. Number 69. Rebecca, by Daphne du Maurier, a haunting tale of love, secrets, and jealousy as a young woman marries a wealthy widower, only to find herself haunted by the presence of his deceased first wife. Number 70. The Ritual, by Adam Neville, a spine-chilling story of four friends who embark on a hike in the Scandinavian wilderness, only to stumble upon an ancient evil that hunts them down. Number 71. The Silence of the Lambs, by Thomas Harris, a psychological thriller that follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling as she seeks the help of the incarcerated cannibalistic serial killer, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, to catch another killer known as Buffalo Bill. Number 72. The Ring, by Koji Suzuki, the novel that inspired the iconic horror film. It tells the story of a cursed videotape that brings death to anyone who watches it within a week. Number 73. House of Leaves, by Mark Z. Danielewski, a mind-bending exploration of a house that defies conventional notions of space and reality, with a narrative structure that blurs the line between fiction and reality. Number 74. The Woman in Black, by Susan Hill, a haunting ghost story set in an isolated English village, where a young solicitor encounters a vengeful spirit that threatens the local community. Number 75. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, by Robert Louis Stevenson, a classic tale of duality and horror, following the transformation of a respected doctor into a murderous alter ego. Number 76. The Descent, by Jeff Long, a dark and claustrophobic novel that explores the terrifying depths of the earth, where a hidden civilization and monstrous creatures lurk. Number 77. The Girl with All the Gifts, by M.R. Carey, a post-apocalyptic tale that follows a young girl with a unique condition in a world overrun by a fungal infection, where she holds the key to humanity's survival. Number 78. The Turn of the Key, by Ruth Ware, a gripping psychological thriller centered around a live-in nanny who becomes entangled in a haunting and deadly mystery in a remote Scottish mansion. Number 79. The Terror, by Dan Simmons, a historical horror novel based on the ill-fated Franklin expedition, where a crew of explorers faces brutal conditions, starvation, and a malevolent creature in the Arctic. Number 80. Psycho, by Robert Bloch, the chilling story that inspired the iconic film. It follows Norman Bates, the disturbed proprietor of the Bates Motel, and his sinister secrets. Number 81. The Haunting of Blackwood House, by Darcy Coates, a chilling story about a woman who inherits a decrepit mansion and soon discovers that it holds dark secrets and malevolent forces. Number 82. The Girl in the Mirror, by Rose Carlyle, a psychological thriller that follows twin sisters with a complex and sinister relationship, as they compete for wealth, love, and ultimately, survival. Number 83. The Ruins, by Scott Smith, a gripping novel about a group of friends who venture into the Mexican jungle and encounter a deadly and sentient plant species that toys with their sanity. Number 84. The Woman in the Window, by A.J. Finn, a suspenseful thriller centered around an agoraphobic woman who witnesses a crime in her neighbor's house, but struggles to convince others due to her own fragile state of mind. Number 85. The Ritual, by Adam Neville, a terrifying story about a group of hikers who become lost in a foreboding Scandinavian forest, where they encounter a malevolent presence that preys on their deepest fears. Number 86. The Whisper Man, by Alex North, a chilling thriller that follows a father and son who move to a new town haunted by a serial killer known as the Whisper Man, as they uncover dark secrets that hit close to home. Number 87. The Snowman, by Joe Nesbo, a gripping crime novel featuring Detective Harry Hole, who investigates a series of gruesome murders where the killer leaves behind a snowman as his chilling signature. Number 89. The Ritual, by David Bruckner, based on the novel by Adam Neville, a horror film that follows a group of friends who embark on a hiking trip in Sweden, only to encounter a malevolent presence hidden in the wilderness. Number 90. The Hollow Places, by T. Kingfisher, a supernatural horror novel that takes readers on a journey through a mysterious portal in a museum, leading to a terrifying realm filled with unimaginable horrors. Number 91. The Dark Tower series by Stephen King, a gripping blend of fantasy and horror. This epic series follows gunslinger Roland Deschain as he travels through a post-apocalyptic world in pursuit of the enigmatic Dark Tower. Number 92. American Psycho, by Bret Easton Ellis, a disturbing and visceral novel that delves into the mind of Patrick Bateman, a wealthy investment banker who indulges in sadistic and violent behavior. Number 93. We Have Always Lived in the Castle, by Shirley Jackson, a haunting story about two sisters living in seclusion with their uncle, as they face suspicion and hostility from the outside world due to a dark family secret. Number 94. The Shadow over Innsmouth, by H.P. Lovecraft, a classic cosmic horror tale that follows a man who investigates the eerie coastal town of Innsmouth, uncovering a dark and otherworldly secret that threatens his sanity. Number 95. The Ruins of Gorlan, by John Flanagan, the first book in the Ranger's Apprentice series, a thrilling fantasy adventure that follows a young boy named Will as he trains to become a ranger, facing supernatural threats and political intrigue. Number 96. The Road, by Cormac McCarthy, a post-apocalyptic novel that portrays a father and son's journey through a desolate and dangerous landscape, as they struggle to survive and maintain their humanity. Number 97. The Devil in the White City, by Eric Larson, a true crime novel that intertwines the story of the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago with the activities of serial killer H. Holmes, creating a chilling juxtaposition of beauty and evil. Number 98. Sharp Objects, by Gillian Flynn, a gripping psychological thriller about a journalist who returns to her hometown to investigate a series of murders, uncovering dark secrets that connect her to the victims. Number 98. The Monkey's Paw, by W. W. Jacobs, a classic short story that tells the tale of a cursed monkey's paw that grants 3 wishes, with dire and unintended consequences for those who possess it. Number 99. The Stepford Wives, by Ira Levin, a suspenseful novel that explores the dark underbelly of a seemingly perfect suburban community, where the women are mysteriously transformed into submissive and robotic housewives. Number 100. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, by Washington Irving, a classic American ghost story that follows Ichabod Crane, a schoolteacher who encounters the legendary Headless Horseman in the quiet town of Sleepy Hollow.